So once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Landscape Horticulture info session tonight. We're really excited that we have one of our instructors with us from the Kelowna area. So she'll be going through it. And then we also have Christy Gels, and she's helping on the back end part of just IT, so to make sure that it all runs smoothly. So Okanagan College has 4 main campus sites. We have Salmon Arm, Vernon, Kelowna, and Penticton. We run landscape horticulture in Salmon Arm, Vernon, and Kelowna. We don't often run it in Penticton. So tonight we'll be mainly talking about the 3 campuses and then an online version of this course. So firstly, we have Jeanette Merrick, and she is a certified arborist. She teaches in our Kelowna program. She teaches the full-time program, the part-time program. She's going to be teaching the online program. She also teaches the Indigenous Landscape Horticulture program for us right now. And Jeanette, if you could just unmute yourself quickly and maybe give us just a little bit about yourself, if you could, please.
Thank you, Mandy. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeanette Merrick. Pretty much learned about trees quickly and fell in love almost immediately. From there, I realized that while it's lovely to work with the big old trees and doing the climbing, I could do more from the ground. And then I learned to adapt all of the knowledge I have with our big old large organisms into some of the smaller plant material in the landscape itself. So I've been working in both industries now for almost 20 years.
Thank you. And then the next instructor that we have is Eric Renard, and he teaches in our Salmon Arm campus and the Vernon campuses. So he usually teaches the face-to-face versions. This year, because of COVID, we've had to move it online. And actually tonight he is teaching our program, otherwise he would be here. He's actually just a few doors down. He's teaching to his class online tonight. He is a landscape architect in the North Okanagan region. He's been in the Salmon Arm area for quite a long time. He has a good reputation. If you go to some of the landscapes of the larger houses in the area, you'll see he's there. He works anywhere from Kamloops all the way down to Vernon. I know that he was educated in the States, and so he has a lot of experience behind him, and he also has a lot of research that's available to him, and he brings that into his classroom as well. So some of the program highlights, this course is divided into 4 modules. So we have botany and soil science, plant identification, landscape design and construction, and landscape maintenance. So I'm going to get Jeanette just to give a brief highlight of an overview of those 4 components.
Thanks, Mandy. So the course that I run is very much practical application of the theory. Botany and soil science essentially is where everything starts. So being able to understand the parts of the plants, how they grow, and then working up from there. So obviously the roots and the soils interact very closely. And so understanding where those plants are growing. Plant identification is a project base. So you spend a lot of time looking for your plants and then learning all of the pieces that are being listed on identifying the plant and what the plant prefers in relation to where it's going to live. So totally related right back to your botany and soil sciences. Landscape design and construction is another project-based learning. So we understand the history of design, we understand the history of a few different uses of the plants, specializing in certain types of plant uses and mass plantings versus specialized singles, and the theory behind some of the construction. Again, we bring soils right back into it. It has everything, of course, is going to be on a foundation, and soils is the foundation. And then landscape maintenance is all of those pieces combined so that you can then create and maintain the best possible landscape.
Thank you. So now we'll just go through a quick overview of what the courses look like coming up. So we have a course on right now, and that's in our Salmon Arm region, but it is online. So we have a few students from all over the province in it, all from the Lower Mainland to the Kootenays. taking the program right now. We're going to have a fall program. It'll be part-time, so it will be September 21st to December 16th. It will typically be Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6 to 9, and the field days will be in the Kelowna area. So while you can take this online, just know that the field days will be in the Kelowna area. If this does work for you and you don't live in the Kelowna area, I would recommend that you reach out to me as the program coordinator, and we can see if there's any allowances that we can make for this or some adjustments as well. So my contact information will be at the end if you want to do that. And then we also have, coming up in the winter, we'll have the part-time program. This will run January 4th to March 26th. It will be Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 9. And this program will be completely online. So all your Saturdays, the field days will be online. What it mainly will be is a project-based. You will do projects in the field, and then you will bring them back to the classroom. There may be some online learning at the same time. We do have some things to just figure out with exactly how we're going to run it. Are we going to run it live in person? Are we going to do it so that it's more self-paced, where we provide you with information that you have to go and find out and then bring back to the classroom? So we have a lot of opportunities that actually COVID has presented that we've learned from our research, from all of the different modules in our Moodle and how to engage the students. So if you do want to take this program online and you don't live in the area, this would definitely be for you. It will be an exciting program. We're going to be engaging with the students, and Jeanette has been teaching this program online due to COVID for almost a year now, and she is excited about moving it completely online for that cohort. Then we also have the in-person program. So for the winter, we'll have the full-time program in Kelowna. So this will be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It will be about 15 hours per week, so approximately 5 hours a day. And then if there is any field days, they'll be within that time frame. So there's no Saturdays. It's mainly Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Also, too, we have another winter program. So this will start in January. This will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 to 9. So as it stands right now, this will be in person at the Vernon campus, and the field days will be in the Vernon Salmon Arm area. So the field days will be about 2 to 3 times per month on a Saturday. Once again, also too, due to COVID, our instructors are very fluid teaching online. So if this option does work best for you and you don't live in the area, once again, please reach out to me and we'll see if we can make any adjustments for you as well. So we've come up with some frequently asked questions that a lot of our students ask us. So firstly, how would you apply? So what you would do is you'd go to okanagan.bc.ca, or you can, and then /apply, and that will take you right to our application page. There is a $30 application fee, as it is a certificate, and it is verified through Education Council at Okanagan College and meets the ministry standards. There is no admission requirements for this program. So once you've paid your application fee, admissions would get a hold of you. There would be a deposit. So there's a $200 deposit, which holds your seat. And then your tuition would be due 3 weeks before the start of the program. And then you also might ask, well, where can I get a job, or what jobs are available for me? So in talking to Jeanette, the majority of the jobs would be from landscape maintenance companies. So there is literally a ton of them in every community. So you could work for a landscape maintenance company. There's nurseries. So in every community, we have nurseries. We have Bylands, we have Nico's, we have Swan Lake. Unfortunately, I'm not really familiar with what they have in Penticton, but I know that they would have some for sure. And then there's golf courses. So there is a lot of golf courses in the area, and this would land you a job there as well. Municipalities, so working for the city. And working for the city, you could work at the rec centers outside. There's always plants. One nice thing about working for the city usually is that it would be a union job. So you do get a good pay and benefits if you get a permanent position. One of the other ones would be the school districts. I know in the Salmon Arm region with North Okanagan School District, if you had this under your belt or on your resume, you would actually get a job with the school district. And then there's also the specialty jobs. So you could be an entrepreneur. You could own your own business. And this might be very appealing to some people. how much is the pay for this program you might, or how much is the pay if you were to be work in the landscape industry. So really, there is a huge variance here. It can range anywhere from $18 to $30 an hour. And then for specialty or consulting work, if you have the experience and the knowledge, of course, then that could range anywhere up to $45 to $90 as well. And then, one last question, is it seasonal? So there is a lot of indoor and outdoor duties, and this really varies depending on the region or the weather in your area. A lot of times, say you worked for the city or the school district, so you would be landscaping, doing outside work in the summer, and then in the winter, you would be brought in to do snow plowing, removal. There would just be a different set of duties. But also on top of that, if you work strictly in the landscape horticulture business, there would be prep in the winter. So you might be preparing for the spring. You could take your vacation in the winter, things like that. So I'm just going to quickly ask Jeanette if there was anything else that I might have missed on there.
No, that covers it quite well. The other piece that might be of considerate, though, is if you do have a goal in mind and it is outdoor, there are, for example, nurseries do a lot of their prep propagation work in the winter, and they don't have necessarily full-time work. So it's quite easy to flip both types of work styles in one season. So you can actually have continual income that way. Perfect.
Thank you. So one of the good resources that I would always recommend to any student that's potentially interested in the landscape program, if they're asking about how much does it cost, is there funding, I would reach out to your Work BC. Mainly if you're not working right now or you're precariously employed, which means that you may not have a full-time job or you may not have a job that pays really well. Check with your Work BC, your local Work BC. Because this program has been sponsored through Work BC, because it is a reliable skill that's always in demand in any community. It may not always be exactly what you're looking for, but it's a great stepping stone to get you into places. So there's a lot of these entry-level jobs that if you have the certificate behind you, you get into it, and from there you can work up. So that's what Work BC is really great for. Work BC will also help you. It may be able to provide you with a living allowance during the time. It may pay your tuition. It may pay books if needed too. So this is all if you're eligible. So, but the first step would be you'd have to ask Work BC and talk to them. So you can sign up for services at apply.workbc.ca. And this is no matter where you live in the province of British Columbia. If you go to apply.workbc.ca, it will put you with your nearest local Work BC center. The other option that we have at the college is our CoOp, or our student pre-employment services. And what they're there to help you do is to get job market ready. So they have workshops to help you with resume writing, network skills, how to do interview prep, and they'll also help you with cover letters so that you can maximize your skills and experience. And even we have a job board on our CoOp site. So any potential employer up and down the valley, if they have a job, they will send to a program coordinator, or they'll send directly to the CoOp department. And then we post that on the job board as well. If we have a job specific to the area and we have a program running at that time, and it comes to me as a program coordinator, I'll make sure that I post it in the announcements for all the students to see as well. So what are the costs of the landscape horticulture program? So the tuition is $1,284. And the materials, there's a small material fee of approximately $45. And then the other thing would be to have appropriate clothing for the field trips or the field days. With landscape horticulture, you will be working outside, so you will have to, if it's raining, you will have to be prepared. If it's sunny, you will have to make sure that you have sunglasses and maybe a hat or sunscreen. So this really prepares you for your outdoor work as well, to make sure that you have the appropriate clothing that will keep you safe and keep you out of harm. The textbooks, these will vary depending on the campus or the instructor. So in Salmon Arm, we have a small textbook and it costs around $28. It's easily accessible at any bookstore or the campus bookstore as well. In the Kelowna campus, most of the information that we have and our textbook material are available online. And the main reason for this is the books that we have used in the past are unfortunately not in print anymore, but the information found in them is excellent. So we are able to do research. I know that both instructors will ask students to find research, because when you do go out into your job, a lot of times you need to learn how to find the information, and you might not have a textbook, but you'll have Google, you'll have your phone, you'll have all that stuff right in front of you. So the instructors are there to show you where to find information when you don't always have it with you. And so that is what they do as well. So the materials, they will teach you how to find it online as well. And then for tech, for the online program, you will need a laptop, a desktop, or webcam with a mic. MS Office is available to all OC students, because there will be times when you need to use a spreadsheet or a Word document as well. And one of the other really important things is there will be projects. So you will have to have a computer handy. One of the students in our program last year actually did everything on her phone. So it can be done without a computer, but it is not recommended. It's really not that easy to do. And then student resources that are available through Okanagan College. So we do have financial aid. One of the real great benefits of financial aid is it's part of its awards. So what I'd always recommend any student is to apply for any award that you're eligible for. I used to work in financial aid and awards, and it is really true that a lot of people do not apply for awards. And a lot of people get rewards because they're the only ones that apply. So what I recommend is always check out the financial aid website. At every campus, we have a dedicated financial aid person that is willing and available to help you at any time if you have any specific questions. We have accessibility services. So what accessibility services does for a student is it is there to support them. And along the way, there's many diverse students that come through our doors and complete our programs. So if you do have a learning disability or you have something that you need difficulties with, then you would reach out to accessibility services. So you may need additional time on a test, or you might need dictation. There's lots of variety of available resources if you are an accessibility student, but you do have to reach out to us because we do not ask you. So if you have questions regarding that, please don't hesitate to contact me and I'll put you in touch with Shannon. She's our accessibility services at the Salmon Arm campus, but whatever campus you're at, we do have a dedicated person there on site as well. We have the Aboriginal Student Center, so we have one at every single campus, and they are there to support you along the way and help guide you if you need any support as well. We have the learning centers, so we also have these. So every single one of these resources are at every campus. So the learning center is there to help you if you need help with, say you're doing an essay or a project and you want some help proofing it or proofreading it, they're there for you for that. They do help with math and science as well, which are more for our academic programs, but the Learning Center is there for you, for any Okanagan College student. Then we also have our advising and counseling services. So advising would be if you need help how to attain your goal. So you know that you want to get into, say, a bachelor program. How do you get there? What do you need to do? So you could go to one of our advisors for that. And then counseling services. We know that many people are struggling with difficulties these days, whether it be COVID or any number of reasons. So we do have dedicated counselors at each campus that are available to you as an Okanagan College student. And then we also have the library. So the libraries are open at every single campus, and you have access to those as a student. The variety of information there is excellent. So not only do we have physical books, but the libraries have a vast array of online information, and not just online information, but resources that you can access as an Okanagan College student. So where you may not be able to access research material or get into, say you wanted to look up some special botany plant identification, you wanted to go to one of the big universities down in the states that might have this information. You might not be able to get in there as just yourself, but as an Okanagan College student, there may be a portal that's through the library, so you can access that information that way. So there's lots of information and lots of access through our libraries. Just reach out to one of our librarians or to your campus library to see what's available to you. And one of the last things that we have is we have a testimonial. So one of our previous alumni students, Kyle, reached out to us. He completed a program with Jeanette, and he now owns his own business in West Kelowna. And he wanted to just reiterate that after a year in business, he was so thankful that he took this course and that the knowledge and education helped him with his pesticide applicator course, with his business. And he realized and appreciated how much he was really taught in this program. And so he just really wanted to thank Jeanette again. So we really wanted to highlight this there as a thank you to Jeanette, but also as one of our students and a previous alumni as well. Now we do have a $5,000 tuition giveaway. So this is more than the program is, but I wanted to make sure that every single student that attended an info session at Okanagan College was aware of this. So if you've attended an info session, you're eligible for this. What you would do is you'd go to okanagan.bc.ca/tuition giveaway. The link is at the bottom there. And then you just fill out a form and it will ask you, who did you connect with? And it was through an info session. And then you just put the date and then it automatically gets sent in. So once again, if you have any questions at all further down the road, so say tomorrow, or sometimes, we just think about it and then we have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out to either the program support person, which is Allison Chaplin. Her information is there, or myself. So I'm the program coordinator for the Salmon Arm, Vernon, and Kelowna programs. And I'm also going to be sending out an email to everyone tomorrow, and I will include a PDF version of all these slides for your reference. And then also, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me then too. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. But firstly, before we end for the night and answer some of the questions, I just wanted to reach out to Jeanette to see if you had anything else to add to this before we do our Q&A.
Hello, everyone. No, actually, I think this is a fantastic summary. The only other piece that I'd like to add is that because the industry as a whole is so vastly different, the course itself is actually flexible enough for it to be personalized for whatever it is that you want to get into. Last year, I had a student who's looking at creating or building her own flower farm. And so her entire program was geared towards her researching what that would look like, how she can further her education to be able to not only take her skills in landscape, but also in business. In the last course, we actually spent time building up resumes because a lot of people wanted to be able to reach out to different community members in different ways. And a few of them actually wanted to reach out to nonprofit organizations to work with them. So we sat down and actually wrote a reference letter in regards to the course itself. I've also sat with other entrepreneurs and built a business program or a business plan for them and how they were going to reach their goals. So while landscape itself is there's some real good basics. If you want to specialize, you're more than welcome to bring that request to the course and we completely modify projects that you're working on to apply to that goal.
Perfect. Thank you. That's excellent. So I'd like to thank Jeanette and Christy for both being here tonight. And I'd also like to thank every single potential student for being here tonight and listening to our info session. There is a couple of questions that I was just going to answer quickly. There was one about the difference between the fall and the spring program. I think it's been answered already, but one of the differences would be too, is we may have a different instructor. So the spring or the winter program, as we would call it, if it was up in the northern region, the face-to-face would be with Eric, and in the south or the Kelowna South region would be with Jeanette. So those would be the main differences, is we would mainly just have a different instructor. the completely online program that we're going to be rolling out coming in January of 2022, Jeanette will be the instructor for that one. And if there's any other questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat below. And like I said, once again, if you do have more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to reply to my email that I will send everyone tomorrow. So I see there's another question on what are the prerequisites for the course. So if you're asking about like what are the admission prerequisites, there is none. So pretty much if you can pay for the course, you can be in the program. So there is a question there about working for the school district, and I have to say that I actually did take a horticulture program and I worked for our local school district, and it was a really great job. It gives you a whole variety of different things. I mean, everything. I can't even describe all of the different aspects, from cutting grass to weed whipping to you just did a variety of different things, and it doesn't always rely around that. So there's lots of maintenance involved in it too, and there is some on-the-job training with the local school districts, but then there's the availability that you can work all year round. So it's really a great stepping stone for that as well. Oh, perfect. Yeah, more knowledge is always handy. That's for sure.
Hi, Jessica. We'd love to have you in the class. There's a couple of valuable pieces for that. We actually have people who have come maybe from different regions, so they actually have a horticulture degree or they already have a arboriculture training, and they join the class to spend the time on their own personal research. As you already know, like once you're in the industry, it's really hard to take the time to really research some of the kind of things that you're maybe struggling with in the industry, especially during the very busy seasons. The other thing is you being able to share your experience and knowledge to the class. There's some really awesome value with that. As well, if you're interested, I'm happy to chat. I worked with the school district as a consultant on a few items, and we can definitely like I said, customize what you're personally working on to be projects specifically for the school district themselves. So if you have a project that's up and coming, or you have a piece that you really want to focus on, we can completely roll that into the course as well, which is, again, something that's super practical and wonderful for other students to learn from your project as well. So that's a fabulous addition to the class.
And Jeanette, I have another question here. Oh, someone had just asked, oh, I think it got
something
answered.
About the Saturdays, I thought I saw.
Yeah, it was about the Saturdays. So we haven't run a lot of online Saturdays. So have you done any specifically in the Kelowna campus area?
So, hey, Justin. What we're thinking of for those projects is a couple of different pieces. Again, it has to do with what you would like to focus in on. If this is an introduction, for example, to the industry, what we'll have you do is some research and then demonstrating how that's practically applicable. So if you're interested in landscape construction, for example, you would actually research how to build the foundation of maybe a deck and then being able to coordinate that deck to fit into the landscape itself. So adding the stairs, adding some of those pieces to it. Soils and botany is pretty easy to do remotely. The second portion, the plant identification, is really going out and collecting samples, or even just going out and looking at plants. Even if you're in the middle of winter, there's still pieces that will help you identify what plant is what. So again, that's something that can be completed remotely. The only one that gets a bit tricky is in the maintenance, because there are some practical hands-on approaches that we work through. I like to share some of my experience when it comes to pruning. So we're actually trying to come up with some ways that we could actually communicate with people who are in a different region, but still have that interaction. So if that student, for example, has the ability to take a mobile device outside, we can actually work through an outdoor landscape scenario together. And it could either be something that other students can join us on, or something that we would actually just do one-on-one. So there's lots of opportunities, but again, it's all about what your goals are and hoping to get through the course. Does that help?
Yeah, and it helps me too. And one of the other things I was going to recommend is that having students from a whole variety of different areas in British Columbia, or even outside BC, really adds to the engagement and interactiveness of our class. So whereas we may have typically had a class in Salmon Arm, Vernon, or Kelowna, and when we would have went on field days, it would have been strictly in that area. But now that we can expand that, we have such a bigger, broader variety of plants and construction ideas and design that we can bring back to the classroom. And for me, I think that would be an amazing class when you have things that you can bring in from Vancouver, the Sunshine Coast, up north. All of that just adds so much more flavor to the classroom that we'll have.
It really highlights too, because of social media, I myself have actually started joining more groups who are from different regions, and how the care of different plants can be drastic. I personally am from Alberta originally, and how we manage some of our perennial plants and shrubs that here they can grow multiple years, there we would actually cut to the ground and let it regrow, actually becomes a management option here. So we can actually take something maybe that is a sick plant, do a rejuvenation prune, and actually help it through its cycle that it's trying to accomplish. So we can take really different information from different areas and adapt that for whatever purpose we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you. And now there's a good question for you, Jeanette, that just came up. So I'm going to leave that one to you to answer.
I missed it. Which one is it?
So there is there's a fella, and he runs a small online plant store for rare tropicals. And he wanted to know can you see it yet?
I see it, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Wow, this is great. I need to reread this question. Oh, this is fantastic. And actually, your name is very familiar. I noticed Curtis Stone. There's another gentleman who is extremely very knowledgeable in using landscapes for food production. And I was curious if you were the same person. So when we are working on the plant identification, I like every student to have something that's a bit different. And then we can actually sit together, whether it's a presentation online or something that we can even put together as PowerPoints, PDFs, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, any of those pieces that make sense to you can then be shared with all the other students in the class. So when you're doing your research, you are actually adding to somebody else's plant repertoire. So all of the pieces that you're talking about would actually be a really fantastic contrast of sorts, because really what you're working with is a controlled environment. People who are working in the outdoor landscape have to work with the natural environment that's happening. So those two contrasts make for fantastic conversations. Your specific request, though, I just want to make sure I also previously. Okay, so when it comes to growing the cannabis, you are working again in a controlled environment, but it's also with a monoculture. So the transition between working with a single plant type into something where you have tropicals, you're going to really want to work through the process of not only just knowing what the plant prefers, but also recognizing what symptoms the plants are going to show for disease issues, pest issues, nutrient levels, and all of that comes in your basic plant knowledge at the beginning. Then you can transition through the program design and construction in how to take care of those plants, and then how do you educate the final homeowner or a person who's going to own that tropical, which is really interesting. If we start talking about using tropicals in the outdoors and then the overwintering care of that, that's a fantastic, huge niche that is desperately needed in Kelowna. So I think that's a great idea. And then when it comes to the rare plant identification, again, I teach you the foundations so that when you get out into the field and you face something that's different, I haven't given you a bunch of answers for scenarios. I've given you the process, and then as long as you follow the process, everything is going to kind of flow out the way that you're hoping for. So I hope that answers your question. It's a fantastic question.
So I really want to thank everyone that attended and had questions for us, because really that is where a lot of the learning comes from, is when the students are open and engaged and they ask the questions, because there's so much information out there, but sometimes it's hard to relay it all until you ask the questions. So thank you for that. So now it is about 7:20, and I just want to thank everyone for attending, and I'm going to stop the webinar for today.